Something happened at Summer Sonic that Otten had been waiting to see for a very long time. SB19 didn't just show up in Japan. They didn't simply perform a few songs, take some pictures, wave to the crowd, and leave. They were given two major opportunities, in two different cities, on two consecutive days. And what happened between day 1 in Osaka and day 2 in Tokyo may be one of the most important moments in SB19's international journey so far. Because there was a question hanging over this entire appearance. Could SB19 actually make an impact on a Japanese festival audience that didn't necessarily come to Summer Sonic specifically to see them? That question was about to get answered, and the answer became much louder on day 2. Let's start with Osaka. Day 1. The first test. On August 14th, SB19 walked onto the massive stage at Summer Sonic Osaka inside Expo 70 Commemorative Park. Think about the situation for a second. Summer Sonic is not a small fan event. This is one of Japan's biggest music festivals, bringing together major Japanese and international performers. And SB19 was suddenly standing inside that lineup. This wasn't just a Filipino crowd. This wasn't a private SB19 concert. There were people there who already knew GENTO. There were Otten who had traveled or gathered to support them. But there were also people who were discovering SB19 for the first time. And that makes a festival stage completely different from a normal concert. At an SB19 concert, the audience is already yours. At Summer Sonic, you have to earn the audience. You have to make people stop. You have to make them curious. And you have to give them a reason to stay. SB19's answer was performance. The group delivered a 9-song set in Osaka, bringing some of their most recognizable and energetic songs to the stage. GENTO, MAPPA, Damp, Visa, Crimson. And they weren't simply standing there singing. This was SB19 doing what they have become known for, turning a performance into an experience. But here's where the story gets interesting. The biggest victory in Osaka wasn't necessarily one particular song. It was the reaction. Because the question wasn't whether Otten would scream. Of course Otten would scream. The real question was whether SB19 could pull people outside their existing fanbase into the performance. And the reports and videos coming out of Osaka suggested that they were beginning to do exactly that. The crowd was responding. People were moving. People were watching. And people who may have arrived for completely different artists were getting their first taste of P-pop's biggest global act. But SB19 had a problem. They couldn't celebrate for too long, because Osaka was only day 1. The following day, they had to do it all again, in Tokyo, and this time, the stage would be different. Imagine performing at a major festival in Osaka, and then waking up knowing that you have another major performance waiting for you in Tokyo. No long break, no time to disappear, no chance to simply enjoy the success of day 1. SB19 had to move forward, because Summer Sonic wasn't giving them one opportunity. It was giving them 2. And that second opportunity was arguably even more important. On August 15th, SB19 arrived at the Pacific stage at Makuhari Mess for their Tokyo performance. And this is where the atmosphere started changing. Because Tokyo is a completely different environment. It's one of the biggest music markets in Asia. Japanese artists dominate their home market. International artists compete for attention. And thousands of people move between stages throughout the day. So once again, SB19 had to earn attention. But then the crowd started filling in. And the footage began telling a story that was impossible for Otten to ignore. People were gathering around the stage. And the reaction wasn't quiet. This wasn't a crowd simply waiting for the next act. The energy was building. Then SB19 started performing. And suddenly, songs that were created by 5 Filipino artists were being performed on one of Japan's biggest festival stages. Crimson, I Want You, Dunka, and GENTO. The crowd response became one of the biggest talking points from the Tokyo performance. There were reports from attendees describing a massive gathering around the stage, with people participating in the songs and reacting strongly to the performance. And this is where we need to pause, because there's a difference between having fans at a festival and gaining the attention of the festival itself. Otten can create an incredible atmosphere, but when people who didn't necessarily come for SB19 start joining the energy, That's when things become interesting. That's when the artist begins crossing over. And then came one of the most unexpected moments. GENTO, Kento, and the moment everyone started talking about. Japanese artist Kento Nakajima was also performing at Summer Sonic Tokyo. And somehow the worlds collided. Kento joined SB19 during GENTO. Just imagine the symbolism. A Filipino group, a Japanese superstar, one of SB19's most recognizable songs, and a Japanese festival audience watching it happen live. The wordplay almost wrote itself. GENTO, Kento, and the reaction online was immediate. But the significance goes beyond a fun moment. Because moments like this are exactly how international connections are created. It gives people something to talk about. It gives fans something to share. And most importantly, it gives people who may not have known SB19 a reason to search their name after the performance. That's how discovery happens. Someone sees a clip. They ask, who are these guys? They search SB19. They find GENTO. Then maybe they discover MAPPA. Then DAM. Then Crimzone. Then they discover the story behind the group. And suddenly, one festival performance becomes a doorway into an entire discography. There was another important detail. Summer Sonic didn't happen in isolation. SB19's presence in Japan has been building. The group has been increasing its connection with Japanese audiences, and their Japan-exclusive edition of WASN at Simula further demonstrated that this wasn't simply a one-weekend promotional trip. There was a strategy behind it. The group wasn't saying, "We're visiting Japan." They were effectively saying, "We're building something here." And that's a major difference. Because international success isn't created by one viral moment. It's created by repetition. The first time people see you, you're unfamiliar. The second time, they recognize your name. The third time, they remember your song. Eventually, they start looking for you. That's how markets are built. And SB19 is now getting repeated exposure in Japan. But perhaps the biggest lesson from Summer Sonic is this. SB19 doesn't need everyone in Japan to already be Otten. They need opportunities to stand in front of people who aren't. Because their biggest weapon has always been the performance. Give them a stage. Give them an audience. Give them a few minutes. And suddenly, the conversation changes. From Filipino fans to Japanese audiences. This is why Day 1 and Day 2 should not be viewed as two separate performances. They are two chapters of the same story. Osaka was the introduction. Tokyo was the escalation. And the second day showed why the first day mattered. SB19 didn't have to start from zero in Tokyo. They arrived with momentum. They had already performed at Summer Sonic Osaka. They already had footage circulating. They already had people talking. And then they walked onto another major stage. This is what makes the back-to-back performances so powerful. One performance creates awareness. Two consecutive performances create momentum. And momentum is exactly what an artist needs when entering a new market. What does this mean for SB19? Now, let's be realistic. It would be premature to say that SB19 has already conquered Japan. One festival cannot create an entire music market. And a strong crowd reaction doesn't automatically translate into millions of Japanese listeners. But that isn't the point. The point is that SB19 has now secured something that money can't simply buy. Attention. They have put themselves in front of people who may never have encountered P-pop before. They have performed alongside major Japanese and international artists. They have created moments that fans can share. They have given Japanese audiences a reason to remember the name SB19. And they have shown that Filipino artists can walk onto a major Japanese festival stage without shrinking themselves. They didn't have to become Korean. They didn't have to imitate Western pop. They came as SB19. They brought P-pop. They brought Filipino identity. And they brought a performance style powerful enough to compete for attention. The bigger picture. For years, the global music industry has been dominated by conversations about K-pop. Then came the growing visibility of other Asian music markets. But P-pop has been quietly building its own path. and SB19 has become one of its strongest representatives. Summer Sonic matters because Japan is not simply another international stop. Japan has one of the largest and most influential music markets in the world. If SB19 can turn festival curiosity into sustained interest, the consequences could be much bigger than one weekend. More Japanese listeners, more collaborations, more events, more media attention, more opportunities for other Filipino artists, and potentially an entirely new audience for P-pop. That's why Day 1 and Day 2 matter. Not because SB19 performed 2 shows, but because they demonstrated what could happen when Filipino pop music is placed directly in front of a major Asian music audience. Osaka asked the question. Tokyo made the answer louder. And perhaps the most exciting part is that this story is not finished. Summer Sonic may eventually be remembered as one of those moments when people look back and say, that's when SB19's Japanese chapter really started. Because they didn't arrive in Japan asking whether Filipino music belonged there. They arrived and performed. They danced. They sang. They connected with the crowd. They shared a stage with Japanese artists. And they left behind something far more valuable than a festival appearance. They left people curious. And curiosity is where every international fan base begins. So the next question isn't whether SB19 can perform in Japan. They've already answered that. The question now is, what happens when the people who discovered SB19 at Summer Sonic start coming back for more? Because if the reaction from Osaka and Tokyo is only the beginning, Aten may be watching the opening chapter of something much, much bigger. And this time, Japan isn't just watching SB19. Japan is starting to notice.